All right, item number 1. Please state your name. You have 3 minutes.
All right. Good thing I took that speed talking class. Good morning.
Good morning.
Chairman Maniscalco, council, community. It is my honor to stand before you this morning and present the City of Tampa's 2024 budget for your consideration. As you've heard in individual briefings, we have painstakingly built a budget that addresses the needs of our community in the most efficient, effective, and equitable ways possible. We will continue to be excellent stewards of the public dollars. Our CFO, Dennis Rahiro, will take you through our 2024 budget proposal in detail, but I'd like to provide you with a brief overview. This 2024 City of Tampa budget is a turning point that opens the door into Tampa's future. A budget in which we, as a community, take responsibility for addressing the greatest challenges that our city is facing. It's a budget that makes the critical investments in infrastructure that our residents are demanding, investments that ensure that our growing city remains safe, provides needed housing, paves our crumbling streets, and builds sidewalks, while also investing in the quality of life that makes the city so special. This budget is our commitment to listening to our residents to get things done. And that, after all, is why we are all here. The time to invest in our future is now, and here is why. Tampa is one of the nation's fastest growing cities. It's on the map as a great place to live, work, play, and visit. Wages are increasing by a rate that's beating inflation. Household incomes are up 15.7% since 2017, adjusted for inflation. Home values are appreciating and families are reinvesting in their neighborhoods. We're seeing new businesses open every day, and at 2.5%, Tampa's unemployment rate is the third lowest in the nation. But over 50,000 new residents in the past decade and tens of thousands of new jobs means higher demand for services and more wear and tear on our infrastructure. And with an expected 150,000 new residents and 250,000 new jobs in the next 22 years, protecting our quality of life requires better infrastructure and smarter growth. 4 consecutive years of community value surveys shows that residents from all demographic groups across our city have high levels of trust in city government. They believe that the city has done our job well. Over the past 4 years, we've done everything that we could with the resources we had to address the issues that we hear about from our neighborhoods and residents. We continuously analyze how best to maintain the most effective and efficient workforce. Because we've spent our resources so responsibly, we've maintained top-tier credit ratings that save our taxpayers millions of dollars annually. And we've focused on bringing in external funding. By making grants a priority, we've brought in over $139 million in competitive state and federal dollars, including $35 million that we were awarded for stormwater projects 2 weeks ago. We've completed comprehensive master plans to ensure that every dollar is being spent in the most impactful way. These plans are more than documents. They are roadmaps for building a Tampa over the next 30 years that is sustainable, resilient, and equitable. Building a Tampa that has the infrastructure to meet our needs, but also the ability to maintain it. We've completed the Moves Master Plan, Vision Zero Plan, Parks and Recreation Master Plan, Tampa Fire Rescue Public Safety Master Plan, and the Climate and Equity Master Plan. Development of a citywide housing needs assessment and an update to our comprehensive plan are currently underway. We've merged the input from residents from our diverse neighborhoods with data to ensure that our spending and decision-making includes both efficiency and equity. Thank you, City Council, for supporting these planning efforts. Having plans ready for implementation has been a big advantage when applying for federal grants and has helped us bring in a great deal of funding. And we've demonstrated through pipes, stormwater improvements, and many other projects that we manage large-scale infrastructure projects at every step of the way, from issuing bonds to contracting the projects to building and completing them on time and on budget. Frankly, we've done everything we can with what we have, but the public is demanding we do better with potholes, housing, and other necessary services. And that's just the beginning, because we must also think about future residents and how our investments in transportation and parks, public safety will impact how and where people live and work, and most importantly, their quality of life. So let's talk about what's in the proposed budget and what's in it for Tampa residents. The proposed budget includes $45 million in new investments in transportation, public safety, parks, and housing. We can leverage these dollars in several ways to fund projects across the city. As we talk about the budget, I want to thank the members of City Council for being strong advocates for our city in these key areas. To fund these critical projects and services, a millage increase of 1.0 will be necessary. We've raised the millage rate once in 30 years, and this is an entirely different city than it was 3 decades ago. This will cost the average Tampa household $19.29 a month. Twice in 2 years, Tampa voters sent a clear message that they want to invest in transportation infrastructure, and they're willing to pay for it. They want sidewalks, they want safety, they want options. They want shorter commutes, less congestion, and smoother traffic flow. And above all, they want us to fix their roads. Last year, 82% of District 4 precincts in South Tampa voted to raise their own taxes to pay for transportation improvements. 92% of District 5 and 86% of District 6 and 7 precincts did the same. That's almost 87% of precincts citywide. There could be no clearer message from voters that the time to act is now. This is something that we hear about all the time from the public, but also from members of City Council. Councilman Carlson, we heard you when you said that we need to focus on repaving and that we can't wait for a surtax to get it done. Councilman Clendenin, we heard you when you said that the one thing you hear about more than anything else from your constituents is that we need to fix our roads. And Councilwoman Hurtak, you've been a vocal advocate of doing what we can to support transit and our bus system, and I agree that we can do more. With our moves plan, we've listened to residents in neighborhoods across Tampa and identified over $2 billion in long-term needs that accomplish the goals over 30 years. These are needs, they're not wants. This budget starts to address these needs by making historic investments in transportation to safely connect people to jobs, schools, and businesses. Tampa residents don't want to hear about why we can't afford to fix our often failing streets. They want us to take responsibility now and get to work. And this is exactly what this budget does. To go into further detail about our proposed transportation infrastructure investments, I'd like to bring the Administrator of Infrastructure and Mobility, Jean Duncan, up to the podium. Jean?
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, City Council. Pleasure to be here this morning. Council, we've heard from each and every one of you regarding your constituent needs and requests to address transportation issues. Our residents contact us directly every single day. Every day we find new ways to do more with less. We have updated our strategic prioritization approach with our moves plan that included many public engagement meetings to listen to our neighborhood residents. We have leveraged the $9 million in gas tax dollars, which is our only dedicated fund source, to secure what we affectionately refer to as other people's money, OPM. In fact, I didn't know there was a movie about that, but apparently there is. Under this administration, the Mobility Department has brought in a total of $50 million in grants. We have realigned existing staff and resources to create the Quick Build program and the Fix It Fast program. The Quick Build approach has allowed us to use in-house forces to implement small but impactful safety projects. The Fix It Fast program has successfully improved our response times to address the most pressing repair needs on our roadways. We can all agree that the state of our transportation system is dire. Over 40% of our roadways are in poor condition. If you listen to our constituents, they would probably say 100% are in poor condition. This means that many of them need to be rebuilt rather than just repaved. That cost is dramatically higher than just repaving. We have over 1,300 miles of sidewalk gaps that are needed to connect schools, parks, and neighborhoods throughout the entire city. The Tampa Bay region is regularly identified as one of the most dangerous areas for pedestrian and bicycle safety. Safety and congestion needs exist citywide. Traffic signals are one of our assets that allow us to better manage congestion and improve safety. Over half of our 600 traffic signals are past their useful life and need to be replaced. And currently it's about $1 million per intersection with the cost that we have today. Roadway paving costs continue to escalate. If you look at this chart here, you can see on the bottom line, we currently dedicate about $5 million of the $9 million gas tax that we get to address paving needs. The proposed millage will take us up to the yellow line, bring us up to about $19 million per year. Then we can start to address our most critical needs with this funding. If we wanted to keep our entire transportation network from not getting any worse, we would need to be spending about $28 million per year. And to actually bring our roads up to current standards to a fair condition, we need to be spending over $45 million per year. So simply put, we need this millage increase, to do more paving, more sidewalks, and more safety. This map shows the worst of our worst neighborhoods. Many of the roads in these locations need to be rebuilt rather than be repaved. And you can see they're scattered throughout the entire city. Next slide, please. With our current gas tax dollars of $5 million per year, we will be able to address approximately 30 neighborhood projects over the next 5 years. With the $1 million increase, we estimate that over the next 5 years, we can address about 102 neighborhood projects where the roads are in the worst condition. The proposed millage will also allow us to start to chip away at the extensive sidewalk needs that we have. We have over 1,300 miles of new sidewalk needs citywide. We would actually need to spend about $52 million a year for the next 25 years to address these needs. That is staggering. However, we need to start somewhere and not just continue to ignore the problem. So in summary, the proposed additional millage would allow us to construct about 102 neighborhood projects over the next 5 years, which improves the roads that are in the poorest condition. We can increase sidewalk construction from about 0.5 mile per year to over 17 miles a year over the next 5 years. And we would be able to implement approximately 25 traffic signal replacement and safety improvement upgrades at our neediest locations throughout the entire city. And finally, if we do nothing, this map continues to get more and more red, which means reduced safety, more congestion, and exponentially more cost to address the needs. So Council, let's start to tackle this problem now. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Jean. I think we can all agree that every Tampa resident has the right to feel safe in their own home, business, and school, regardless of where they live. This is something that I've been committed to throughout my career, and I've heard the same from each of the council members. Public safety is a prerequisite to economic development, community empowerment, and our quality of life. A successful city is built on a foundation of safety and security. Tampa, as you know, is one of the safest cities our size in the nation, and that is not by happenstance. It comes through hard work, dedication, and collaboration with our community. As we grow into the future, we will continue to prevent crime through partnerships, responsible technological advances, and programs. But our rapidly growing city will also need more officers. As you know, close to 90% of TPD's budget is personnel. Councilwoman Henderson, we appreciate and agree with your passion for providing our youth with programs and opportunities that will assist them in choosing the right path as they grow into adulthood. This budget supports requests made by council and the public for additional officers, communication tools for community policing, and supporting outreach to the homeless individuals and those with mental health issues. I appreciate the support of Chairman Maniscalco and council members Carlson, Hurtak, Clendenin, Henderson, Vieira, and Miranda, all of you for expressing your support for these investments. To go into further detail about our proposed TPD budget increases, I'm going to bring up Chief Burkle.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, Council.
Good morning.
It's my honor to present you and the public our increased budget request for the police department. Your police department is operating at an extremely high and efficient level. This is evident in the hard work of our fine officers and our professional staff, our successes, our community support, and our excellent reputation across the state and the nation. Our mission is to reduce crime and improve the quality of life through a cooperative partnership with all citizens, and we are doing just that. Last year, violent crime was down 3%. In the first half of this year, violent crime is down an additional 9%. Moreover, our homicides are down and our clearance rate is up. However, we are still experiencing surges in auto burglaries and stolen vehicles. We continue to encourage everyone to lock their cars and remove their valuables from their vehicles. We also realize that there's still pockets of crime in the city, and we are working with the community members to address those concerns. Our officers are solving crimes at an unprecedented sense of urgency. We've highlighted many cases here in council where we have solved major crimes in less than 48 hours. Our response times for priority events are nearly 2 times quicker than our goals. Tampa is one of the safest cities our size in the nation, just as the mayor said. The sense of personal safety is even more important than the crime statistics. Our community values survey indicates a strong sense of personal safety, and the overwhelming majority of our community is satisfied with police presence and the response in their neighborhoods. This does not mean our work is complete, as we still have areas to address. However, we are on the right track and we are making a difference. This trend is due to the hard work of our officers, our staff in preventing crime, solving crime, and their embracing of our expanded community-oriented policing philosophy. We have just under 1,000 officers and just over 400,000 citizens, and clearly we cannot do this alone. We are so fortunate to have such an engaged community here in Tampa. We face falling below the national average in law enforcement standards if we fail to keep up with Tampa's growth. The national average is 2.4 officers for 1,000 citizens. We are currently allocated 984 sworn positions. And as you know, our population is expected to increase, which could reduce that ratio. In addition to population, there are a plethora of increasing demands on officers. Our times on calls are increasing. The evolution of our assignments is increasing. Things like the Real-Time Crime Center, our behavioral health unit, our homeless outreach, the large number of great special events that we have in this city, and the evolving technology and training that our officers are faced with. We excel in preventing crime, but this is labor intensive. To continue providing the highest level of service to our community, we must address the gaps in the number of officers, the modernization of our fleet vehicles, and the community engagement, specifically our Police Athletic League. Moreover, we must capitalize on evidence-based technology that increases our transparency and supports our staff, allowing them to be more efficient and effective. Council, just as you all suggested and strongly supported, we must grow our police department in concert with the growth of the city. We are proposing adding 30 additional sworn officers. This would bring the sworn officer levels from 984 to 1,014, thus improving our officer-citizen ratio and keeping us above the national average. These additional officers will be assigned to our front lines in patrol and fill our current gaps in training and long-term military leave. Over 3 years, this increase in staffing would cost over $9 million. Through a Department of Justice grant, we could save the city nearly $4 million. After the 3 years, this increase in staffing would cost us an additional $3.4 million before the adjusted salaries. Hiring and recruiting is just as essential. I'm proposing that we add a second scholarship class each year. These classes actually help us in our diversity recruitment and hiring officers from within our own city. Adding a second class would increase our police recruit budget by just over $500,000 for tuitions and salaries. We are in the process of updating our police vehicle fleet. We are going towards a 9-year rotation, but to accomplish this, we are requesting in next year's budget an additional $3.5 million above our budgeted allotment. The impact of not having this funding results in fewer cars being purchased, which means keeping older cars in our fleet that require additional maintenance and repair cost. While we have a multitude of programs focused on preventing crime, we believe in investing in reinvigorating our PAL program. Engaging with even more of our youth will provide our next generation with the foundation to become the future leaders of this city. Investing roughly $700,000 will provide an opportunity to hire 4 full-time positions, 6 part-time, and up to 14 seasonal positions. Evidence-based supporting technology is critical to our mission, and I'm requesting an additional $1.2 million to increase our transparency and effectiveness. And several of our top projects under this proposal would include providing a smartphone for all of our officers. This would not only provide increased opportunities for community engagement, but would provide technology at their fingertips as opposed to going back to their car. Other top projects would include increased digital evidence storage and more advanced mapping systems. So in summary, I'm requesting an investment in our cops, our cars, and our community. These additional resources and funding will help us towards working towards our shared goals as public servants, which is a better, safer Tampa for residents and visitors alike. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Steve. As you all know, Tampa Fire Rescue has a lot to be proud of. The men and women of Tampa Fire Rescue have a difficult and often dangerous job. They never hesitate to put their lives on the line in service to our community. Residents of our city count on them to be there in their most difficult moments. In 2022, Tampa Fire Rescue responded to 10,825 fire calls and 81,116 medical calls. Councilman Vieira and other members of Tampa City Council, this budget is a commitment to update stations, add additional firefighters and paramedics, add rescue units, and increase the department's capacity. It's also a commitment to improving efficiencies and response times throughout our city. To go into further detail about the TFR proposed budget increases, I'm going to bring up Chief Tripp.
Good morning, Council. Tampa Fire Rescue has been in existence for over 128 years. With those years, a rich tradition has been established. There are approximately 742 men and women who sacrifice their life every day for our community and have made Tampa Fire Rescue an elite department. Tampa Fire Rescue ranks in the top 1% of agencies with an ISO rating of 2 or better. Even with the challenges of the pandemic, Tampa Fire Rescue received its third accreditation in February of 2021. That was evaluated by the Center for Public Safety Excellence. This speaks volumes for the commitment from the men and women who make sure Tampa Fire Rescue consistently meet the national standards when using the best practice when delivering a high level of emergency service to the community. Over the last 6 years, with the exception of 2020, the call volume in the city of Tampa has increased. Last year, 2022, Tampa Fire Rescue responded to over 91,000 calls for service with over 80,000 medical calls. As you see here on the chart, in the past 6 years, the average call volume was over 86,000 calls for service per year, with over 200,000 calls answered by the Tampa Fire Rescue Communication Center, which equals over 200 calls answered on a daily basis. The current vehicle fleet is outdated with apparatuses operating beyond life expectancy. One of the main issues Tampa Fire Rescue face is the manufacturer shortage of available chassis, which is a nationwide problem, as well as parts for the vehicles, and definitely let's not forget the effect of the recent pandemic with manpower. The average delivery time for ALS transport units range from 18 to 24 months, and an engine or aerial apparatus production times can be up to 30 months. Tampa Fire Rescue is also dealing with outdated evidence-based technology, from computers, automatic vehicle locators, and of course the computer-aided dispatch system. Each of you have stated the city of Tampa is growing. Currently, the ratio of firefighters to residents is 1.5 to 1.8 per 1,000 citizens. With additional funds, Tampa Fire Rescue will add more personnel. Recently, Tampa Fire Rescue applied for the SAFER grant, which is the assistance to staffing needs for fire and emergency response. The average cost of a firefighter to start is over $85,000. The additional personnel with the assistance of the growth will assist with the growth of the city of Tampa. Tampa Fire Rescue has 5 stations without ALS transport units. Additional personnel will fulfill the staffing needs for those ALS transport units. Based on the recent review of the 80,000 medical calls, additional resources is needed. Response time has been a big concern from each of you as well as the community. Tampa Fire Rescue mission is to protect our community by providing immediate response to all requests for service. Reduction in response time as well as reduction in unit hourly definitely will be granted with this additional funding. In March of 2023, an additional ALS unit was added in the city limits. Data has shown a 19% decrease unit hourly utilization. When this agency was established in 1895, it was known as Tampa Fire Department, meaning the fire stations was built for fire apparatuses only. Around 1978, when the emergency medical service was introduced to the fire department and later becoming Tampa Fire Rescue, many of the stations were not redesigned to accommodate the additional personnel or equipment. These additional funds would assist with upgrading, remodeling, rebuilding the fire station to accommodate additional personnel as well as equipment. As Tampa Fire Rescue continued to reduce response times, there are multiple components involved to maintain and stay in compliance with national standards, which includes purchasing of new vehicles, continue to update and implement best practice technology, including a new pre-exemption platform to allow vehicles to move through the city of Tampa safely, effectively, and in an efficient manner. K-Bar Ranch is located in Councilmember Louis Vieira District, District 7. Even though Tampa Fire Rescue is meeting national standards, that is one area where response time is longer than normal. The goal is to add additional rescue resources to decrease the response time, not only in District 7, but throughout the city of Tampa. Statistics show the fire stations are geographically located throughout the city of Tampa. As we discussed in the past, Councilmember Clinton, before building additional fire stations, we should fill the stations with the appropriate resources to provide the community with the required level of service. We have stations built in FY14 and 1921. Those are the two oldest stations. I have 7 stations built in 1958, plus an outdated maintenance shop that was built in 1955. 65-year-old stations are in desperate need of repair and upgrades. This additional funding will allow stations to receive Category 5 hurricane windows, overhead doors, electrical, gender-appropriate bathrooms, and much more. From the recent assessment of the stations, the price range for upgrading and/or rebuilding range from $1.3 million to $8.5 million, based on the year and the condition of the station. This additional funding will assist Tampa Fire Rescue to continue to be that elite department. Thank you. Turn it back over to the mayor.
Thank you, Chief. Council, as you're aware, providing inadequate support for our first responders will result in additional costs down the road and literally cost lives. Tampa's gold medal award-winning Parks and Recreation system is a cornerstone of our community's quality of life, bringing residents together with opportunities that benefit not only their health and well-being, but also builds a sense of community in each and every neighborhood. We need to preserve, maintain, and improve these parks for current and future generations. Tampa's booming population is putting a strain on our park system and staff. Since 2009, 35% of our park staff were laid off in 2009 during the Great Recession. Tampa has grown by over 50,000 citizens during that time, creating additional maintenance needs and programming backlogs for after-school programs, summer camps, gymnastics, and other classes. When we talk about improvements, it's not just ongoing and deferred maintenance, it's equity, connectivity, and accessibility. The last time that the city raised its millage, one of the top items funded was the new Tampa Recreation Center, which had a terrible backlog for dance and gymnastics. Children all over our city should have access to quality programming, and this budget will ensure that it's provided. Thank you, Councilman Vieira, for your hard work to bring equity to New Tampa, and thank you, Councilwoman Henderson, for your voice and determination to bring this programming to East Tampa as well. And Councilman Vieira, your fight to make our parks accessible for people of all abilities, especially children, has not gone unnoticed. Last week, we were awarded the 2023 Karen Jacobs Outstanding Accessible Places Award for the City of Tampa All Abilities Playground in New Tampa. This budget will make accessible parks a reality for more and more children each and every day. To go into further detail on the proposed parks and recreation investments, I'd like to bring up our Administrator of Neighborhood and Community Affairs, Osea Wynn.
Good morning, Council. Thank you so much, Mayor. Our parks have been recognized nationally, within the state, and on a local level. However, it has not been without its challenges. We have a Parks and Recreation, next slide, please. We face a growing need within our parklands and within our neighborhoods with a growing backlog, with long wait lists, as the mayor has mentioned, and with the reduction of the park staff. That 35% reduction in the park staff, that equates to 245 employees that we have not recovered. As Tampa continues to grow and the population continues to grow, that will continue to put more strain and impact on our existing park system. So what we are proposing, we're proposing implementing the first 5 years of the Parks and Recreation recommendations as identified in the master plan. These recommendations highlight the immediate needs and the highest priorities of the community. The renovations and reinvestment in existing parks and facilities, new facilities in existing parks, and providing additional recreation amenities in our 15 undeveloped parks. These immediate actions will also help increase the capacity of our park system by adding more facilities, more amenities, and help create open space in our parks. Our master plan identified the estimates that are needed for our operation and maintenance. And these costs for the first 5 years costs, with the inclusion of 26 additional staff members, will cost us about $3 million annually. The master plan has already also identified projects, and I'll just name just a few that we will renovate, we will improve. The River Tower trails, shoreline restoration, and park improvements. That will include parking at the River Tower Park. We will rehab the Sulphur Springs Park. Councilman Carlson, we've had calls regarding the Hyde Park Art Studio and redeveloping that area. We will tackle that as well. The Dundee Playground and Healing Gardens and Sidewalks. That was a request from the community. We will reimagine how this funding could be used for our stormwater ponds and creating those ponds into parks. Councilman Vieira, we heard you about the lack of park and park amenities in your district. So with the K-Bar Ranch, we will look at putting multi-purpose fields, play areas, neighborhood connections, and parking. The Tampa Ponds Park, the 5-acre park, we will look at putting trails and amenities. The new Tampa Nature Park, we'll look at including a nature center, expanding the trail system, and restrooms. These are just a few of the many needs that have been identified by the master plan. In terms of programming, the mayor mentioned the wait list for gym and dance. Well, even with the previous millage, we still have a wait list. So at the Wayne Pappy facility, we have a wait list of approximately 1,200 people, as well as in the new Tampa. So both facilities have a wait list of 2,400 collective, so 1,200 at each location. In comparison, there are approximately 1,100 students enrolled at Wayne Pappy now, and 1,400 enrolled at the new Tampa Rec Center. The wait times could be in excess of a year, and this is further impacted by the low student-to-teacher ratio that's needed for the younger students. So this additional funding will allow us to think creatively about how we can expand our services throughout our recreation system and to hire additional staff to tend to the gym and dance. And it's not only gym and dance, we see the same thing in our after-school programming as well. Maintenance. On average, Parks and Recreation sends approximately 2,500 work orders to facility management. And this is mostly due to the deferred maintenance of our facilities. Our forestry department receives approximately 1,800 work orders annually. And our forestry staff is taking from 6 to 8 weeks for new inspections. This is due to the lack of personnel as well as the lack of reliable equipment that we have to tend to these needs. All of our 17 swimming pools and splash pad amenities are needing some level of repair in one or more of the following areas. We have needs for surface repair, filtration and pump systems, heaters and blankets, controllers, UV, and decks, every last one of them. The master plan has identified approximately $24 million in existing pool repair and maintenance needs. We spoke of accessibility, and Councilman Vieira, thank you so much for your drumbeat and your passion for leading this effort. But our accessible park should be every park, not just highlighted in just one park. So we will provide ADA accessibility within all 192 parks. And we will upgrade our swimming pools with ADA lifts, ramps, and waiting access. We will continue to work with our sustainability and resiliency officer to explore opportunities for solar installations as we're renovating buildings, as well as developing a canopy maintenance program for tree planting. Both of these programs have huge upfront capital investments. With that, Mayor, I'll turn it back over to you, and thank you so much, Council.
One of the greatest challenges facing Tampa is ensuring that our residents of all income levels can find housing that they can afford. There is a housing shortage at all income levels in our city. This shortage is particularly difficult for our lower income residents, but our middle-class families are also having less choices than ever before. According to the 2023 Community Values Survey, access to affordable housing was the issue with the largest expectation gap. The city's role in housing is focused on expanding homeowner opportunities, preventing evictions, partnering with developers to include more attainable housing in new projects, and establishing the conditions through transit corridors and land use reforms to increase density. This budget makes a significant investment in housing that we can leverage with local, state, federal, and private partners. Your support of Tampa Hope and its partners is also a key necessity when we add the need to shelter and assist our homeless population. I'd like to thank Chairman Maniscalco, Councilmember Miranda, for your increasing assistance and attention on our housing issue. To go further in detail on proposed housing investments, I'd like to bring up our Administrator for Development and Economic Opportunity, Nicole Travis.
Thank you, Mayor, and good morning, Council. In 2019, and with limited data, Mayor Castor set a goal of 10,000 affordable units by 2027, knowing Tampa was falling behind in housing affordability. This council have heard from the citizens, especially in the past 10 months, about the need to have housing for all. As of July 2023, there are 2,034 affordable units that have been completed or are underway. 3,082 units are in the planned and conceptual phase. It will require financial support to have these units go into the development construction phase. For the first time in Tampa's history, general fund investments were made in home ownership and rental assistance programs to help our residents remain housing stable. We've also invested in the comprehensive housing needs assessment and a significant update to the land development code, which will help inform policy decisions on housing in the future. The City of Tampa is expected to see approximately a 20% increase in households by 2030. That's an additional 32,000 households in the next 7 years. To accommodate that growth without displacing current residents, the city needs to build a solid foundation complete with infrastructure to meet the housing needs of our community. Without intentional and strategic investment, we will continue to fall further behind in Tampa's housing gap of 26,000 affordable units to households at or below 50% of the area median income. 50% of the area median income is $43,450 for a family of 4. So that's just not a number, Council. We're talking about our teachers, our labor workers, healthcare providers, service providers, and in healthcare providers, we're talking about nurses, certified nurse assistants, and technicians. It will take almost $1 billion to reach the 10,000 unit goal by 2027 of both private and public investment. Your commitment to fair housing through your support of the proposed $1 million increase will allow us to continue our ongoing funding opportunities for affordable housing development. It will allow us to make units affordable by lowering the per-unit cost through subsidization and strategic property acquisition. The ability to rely on funding from the millage increase allows us to plan strategically for our operational and HR needs. The funding would also allow us to provide an infusion of land and startup cash for the only true way to ensure long-term housing affordability through a community land trust. I just mentioned displacement of residents, but perhaps I should be a little more direct. We will see significant increase in our homeless population unless a bold and sustainable investment is made in fair housing. The proposed millage will yield $9 million annually that can be leveraged to $134 million over a 5-year period. This increase is a mission-oriented investment that will invest in and alongside local housing developers to create and preserve affordable housing options for residents of the city of Tampa. The infusion of cash is important because, as you all know, development and construction takes years. Developers need certainty. When affordable housing developers can depend on funding in out years, it increases their likelihood that they will pool private and philanthropic funds to leverage with local funds, reducing the city's contribution on a per-unit basis. They cannot plan investment in out years based off of a single-year allocation. Councilman Miranda, you have called me several times with property available or suitable for affordable housing, but they're outside of the CRA districts. This millage increase will give us the capital needed to buy land in bulk outside of our CRAs. Council, your support for fair housing is tantamount to supporting social equity and inclusivity within our communities. By ensuring equal access to housing opportunities, individuals from diverse backgrounds can thrive, leading to a more vibrant and dynamic local economy. Fair housing policies contribute to economic development by attracting businesses, fostering a skilled workforce, and creating stable neighborhoods that encourage investments and growth. Council, I thank you for your supporting our protected populations and most vulnerable citizens with their housing needs. And Mayor, turn it back to you.
Thank you, Nicole. Council, just like you, I hear often from our residents about the conditions of our streets, about how children and seniors throughout Tampa should have equal access to parks and recreation services, about how where you live in Tampa shouldn't determine how fast first responders get to you in an emergency, and about how families are worried that they're being priced out as housing costs rise. I also understand that while our economy is stronger than ever, with higher incomes and opportunities for job training and for better paying jobs, we still have vulnerable populations that are struggling, and we need to make sure that they are not left behind. To be clear, this budget is not going to address all of our gaps or our growth challenges, but without additional funding, the City of Tampa will struggle to move forward on addressing any of these core services outlined today or in our master plans. Without additional funding, service levels will remain as they are while demand and deferred maintenance increases. The public is demanding that we start tackling these challenges head on, that we invest in our infrastructure and increase our service levels. Today, not tomorrow, not in the next administration or under the next council, but now, and we have to listen. Tampa's at a pivotal point in our history, and I'm asking you to help ensure that we have the resources to keep Tampa thriving. Each of us has the opportunity to make the bold decisions necessary to ensure that this great city grows to its potential. Thank you all for your attention today, and I'll turn it over to our CFO, Dennis Rahiro, to present the 2024 budget. Thank you all.
Thank you.